and good afternoon, everyone. My name is Adibanke. As you know, I'm the founder of Black Catalyst Network, and today we have Baba Femi, who I've known for quite a while. He's an OHS professional and he was able to, should I say, drive or carry that experience from Nigeria to here, which is what I believe in. I believe. We're trying to help people go back to the careers they were in Nigeria or even higher or aim for higher, because we believe that that's the only way, for people that want to anyway, that's the only way you can get maximum satisfaction from being in Canada. I also believe that Canada is looking for the talents that we have. I think the problem is how to bridge the gap between our resumes and what they need, which can be quite cumbersome or troublesome. But I believe that with time and with a lot of tweaking, we will get to it or we will get it. So today, I want today's class to be as interactive as possible. Obviously, once Baba Femi goes through like his history in Canada and how he did that, you guys can begin to ask questions. But I would really, really like for it to be as interactive as possible, as that is the only way you and I can learn anything from this thing. To be honest, if it's not interactive, I don't think you would get what you should get, or I don't think you will learn what you need to learn in order to move forward in Canada. So I'll pass it over to Baba Femi to give a run through of his slides, and then we'll open the floor for questions.
Thank you so very much, Banks. I appreciate the introduction. And hi, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, depending on where you are. We know we're all across Canada, different time zones. Like Banks has rightly said, today we're having a very interactive session. We don't want this to be an aspire to perspire kind of meeting where we're just talking about the good things and just talking. We want to make it as realistic as possible. And so while I have this slide deck, I'm not necessarily going to be focusing on it. I can share it with Banks after the call, or it's just being used as a guide, so to say. We're not basing our conversation strictly on the slides, if you get what I mean. So, like Banks has said, my name is Femi, Baba Femi for full, and 2026 makes it 10 years for me being in the occupational health and safety slash environmental sciences world. And today, I pretty much just want to share with you how moving from Nigeria to Canada, I've been able to build a career in this field. This is a personal journey. I'm going to be sharing practical strategies and just highlighting a bit of my professional growth. So that's just like a high level summary of what we're here for, in case you might be wondering. And then a disclaimer, the views, the opinions, and anything I'm sharing on this call, they do not represent the views, policies, or opinions of my current or former employers. And a couple of objectives for us today to achieve, sharing my journey moving from Nigeria to Canada, as I said earlier, highlighting career transitions and lessons learned, provide practical job search strategies. If you're on the health and safety group, I share a minimum of 10 jobs weekly. So I want to talk about how are we being practical about searching for the roles, searching for the jobs, and then inspiring resilience and continuous growth. Because, guys, on this journey, we do need resilience. We need to be strong. We need to have that grit. We need to go for it. And that's where resilience comes in. I have this picture on the background of this slide. It is Notre Dame in Winnipeg. And this is called the Crossroads of Canada. You can Google it. So, Crossroads of Canada, this is the center of Canada by geography, the latitude and longitude of Canada. The middle of Canada itself is on Portage. And here was me moving to Canada, and I was in Winnipeg, and I always saw these tall buildings. In my mind, I'm like, I can also get a job where I'm wearing suits and entering elevator, or even if I'm not wearing suits, but I'm in a big building. You get what I mean? And so that's the inspiration behind this Crossroads of Canada. You can look it up. And then who I am, you might be wondering, who is this guy that Banks has brought to come and talk? So I'm a father. I became a father this year, and it's been one of the most exciting journeys. And being an OHS professional, that really plays a lot into fatherhood for me because I'm able to pay attention to detail a lot OHS professional, community leader. I believe a lot in community, and I currently serve as the general secretary of my local association in the city where I live in Nanaimo, British Columbia. I also serve with Black Catalyst Network as one of the community folks. And so I just love community. I just love the idea of us being together. And then I'm a lifelong learner committed to service and to growth of collective good, not just individual. And so let's talk about my foundation in Nigeria. So high school, I went to King's College, Lagos, University of Lagos for uni. And then my first stint in the corporate world was with the Lagos state government. I was saying to someone the other day, like when I was starting this journey, like I did sciences, yes, but I didn't necessarily set out to be in the OHS world. But then I got a job with the Lagos state government, and that would make me work in agencies like the Lagos Waste Management Authority, Lagos Parks and Gardens Agency, Lagos Wastewater Management Office. I pioneered recycling in Lagos State. I was part of the four-man team that started recycling in Lagos State, and that was in the year 2016. That's when recycling became a thing in Lagos. And then at some point, I got bored of civil service and earning mega salaries, and so I switched to the first and yeah, the first and only electronic recycling waste management firm in Nigeria, Itera Technologies. And then while I was about leaving Nigeria, it was kind of very hilarious. I got my dream job with C&I Leasing. I don't know how many of us know C&I Leasing, but it's a blue chip company. And so the decision to move to Canada, I love pictures, guys. So lots of these slides, and you're going to be seeing some pictures. Here is me. At the age of 22, I started a business called Brandiff Imperial Consults. And I just saw a gap. I realized that Lagos State mandated people to have bins in their homes. But then people could not find like actual bins. And so I said, hey, I cannot start selling dustbins. And so that was the crazy idea. I started supplying dustbins, my clientele, estates in Lekki, development firms and whatnot. So this is me here delivering waste bins. And then I would also advise on recycling and whatnot, but waste management. So when we talk about occupational health and safety, there's different facets. You have EHS, environmental health and safety, and then you have waste management, you have wastewater, you have chemical safety, you have physical safety. There are lots, I would say there are over 100 roles in the OHS world. And so that's why when I hear people saying they're not finding jobs, I'm kind of surprised because in Canada, there are roles in this industry. And so for me, the decision to move to Canada really was born. Okay, this second picture is when I was at Itera Technologies. This was our office in Yaba. What of us that know Yaba, Yaba not was, it's like the Silicon Valley of Africa. That is changing now. A lot of startups right now are beginning to domicile in Lekki and Ikeja. But Yaba at the time was the place to be. Circa 2016 to 2020. Yaba was, you had Mark Zuckerberg come to Yaba. You had Jack Dorsey, formerly Twitter, now known as X, the founder, come to Yaba. There was co-creation hub. And so Yaba was a place where if you had a crazy idea, just go to about Macaulay, CC Hub, and they're people ready to help you develop it. So that was me working a 9 to 5 and still running a business on the side. My business still exists, by the way, in case you are wondering. I still run my business, even being in Canada. Not as operational compared to me being on ground, but the business does exist. And so here is someone who's been in Nigeria, 5 years of experience, and then I'm in Canada starting again. Again, I love pictures. This is GFL. I don't know how many of us know GFL, Green for Life. This is GFL, one of their waste sorting facilities in, where is this? Is this, yeah, somewhere in Manitoba. So this is GFL, and what I was doing here was simple. We're basically conducting a sampling analysis to figure out how much of recyclable waste is generated from. So there are three primers, no, four: high density, low income, high density, high income, medium density, low income. So what it pretty much means is areas where there are lots of people living, but the income level is low. Areas where there are not a lot of people living, income level is high. So we pretty much sampled those areas and we're like, okay, let's get an idea of attitudinal shifts. How are people? Because trust me, don't think because we're in Canada, everybody sorts waste from source. I do. So this study was pretty much figuring out how that works. And so for me, moving to Canada, figuring out how to adjust to a new environment, understanding systems and building a support network. I'll tell you exactly how it was for me. So I moved in April 2022, and again, I love pictures. OFE. This is one of the first places I went to, opportunities for employment, downtown Winnipeg. They were offering at the time free employment services, resumes and cover letters, guided job search, blah, blah. Anyway, I went there, I tried to get a job, and one of the jobs I got first, this was we on site. This is an agricultural facility. And here we were taking soil samples. So we're pretty much taking the soil and testing the soil, trying to figure out the alkaline levels, the pH levels, and whatnot. So one of the first things I did when I came was I did get into settlement services. So some of us we arrive in a new country and we feel we are too big for some of these things. Right now, you have Black Catalyst Network. 5 years ago, we did not have that. You came post-COVID, Black person, immigrants, you had to figure it out from scratch. We didn't have community. There was Nigerians in the UK, there was Nigerians in this. I don't recall any actual Nigerians in Canada community before Black Catalyst. So big ups to Black Catalyst. Anyway, what I did was I pretty much put myself out there in terms of using these resettlement services that we have in our cities and just trying to make use of resources out there. I didn't think I could figure it out on my own, or I didn't try to navigate it on my own. And so I just want to run through this slide so that we can talk one-on-one. Building Canadian experience. When we talk about building Canadian experience, I like any, you don't have to tell me. Look in your dictionary what experience means. What's the meaning of experience? So when they talk about Canadian experience, they're not necessarily talking about Canadian work experience. Volunteering is Canadian experience. Networking intentionally is Canadian experience. Continuous learning and remaining visible, all of those count as Canadian experience. And so when we talk about work experience, don't think about it only from the sphere of trying to get a job. Volunteer out there. There are lots of volunteer opportunities that you can have on your resume because you volunteer. Networking as well. And so this is when Banks and I used to live in the same province. So Banks and myself, we've lived in maybe like 3 to 4 provinces or stuff like that. So at some point we lived in the same province. And this is us taking a picture together at a community event. And this is where it gets interesting, career progression. So I will give you some examples of roles. Some of us, we think that we can just get into the job market and want to get a six-figure job. While it might work for some people, data shows that not everyone will get that. And so I've highlighted some roles and experiences that contributed to my professional growth in Canada. One of it's labor. And so it's very interesting because from Nigeria, when we talk about labor, we think about it can like maybe carrying and what's it called? Cement or whatever. You get my point. So when we say labor in Canada, it's kind of different. Some laborers, all they do is they drive the city trucks, monitoring things, waste auditor. That's another role. What does a waste auditor do? A waste auditor pretty much audits waste. Have you guys seen people that they go to households? They're not going through the waste. No, they are opening the recyclable carts and they are checking. Has anybody seen something like that on social media? I think the city of Calgary, I don't know, somewhere in Alberta, they're implementing it where if they open your bin, your recyclable bin, and they see stuff that is not supposed to be there, you are getting a ticket. So that's a job I've done. Auditing waste. Field services technician. That is another role that I have done. Foreman. When we talk about the foreman, what's a foreman? As a foreman, you are on site, you are ensuring everyone is obeying the regulation. You are pretty much ensuring everyone is safe. So the employer already has a safety program in place. You are not coming to reinvent the wheel. Do you understand? There is already a structure in place. And so your job is pretty much ensuring that the employer safety system. So some of us, we need to let's get these roles, note it down. Don't think you're just going to get EHS manager. It's possible you might be coming from Nigeria with 10 years experience, but if you're trying to break into the field, also if you haven't worked in OHS and you're just starting out, these are some entry level roles, and these roles don't pay less than 60 to 70K. One disclaimer I'd like to give you guys is one thing you should know in our field, we earn above the national average. Occupational health and safety is one of the few fields where you're earning above the national average. You're not earning minimum wage. Do you understand my point? So look up some of these roles. Don't, and I always tell people something, don't look at the name of a role. Canadians, they can deceive us with that. You see the name of a role, you either think it's too complex or you think it's too shitty for you to do. Meanwhile, when you read the job description, you see that it is absolutely different. So please, I'm imploring you, if you see a role you think you like, don't be bothered about the grammar. They can say OHS, management, consultant, blah, 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 blah. Go and figure out what the day to day in that person's role is. What do they do? And in the end, you realize there's something you can do. That's on the one hand. On the other hand, is the one that you think, I'm too big for this job. I'm too big for this work. You're not doing it forever. It's a stepping stone because when you have waste auditor or you have field services tech on your resume, and then you're applying to City of Calgary, City of Edmonton, they know that, okay, this person has work experience. This person knows their onions. This person has been in the field. This person has been in the industry. And the prospective employer will trust you and say, hey, let's give this person a shot at the role. And so if you are transitioning, like we said, into professional. So initially, don't. So guys, follow me. I hope we're together. If we're together in the chat, when I say are we together, just tell me together we are, not we're together. If I say are we together, for me to know we're together is together we are. Initially, in the previous slide, we talked about the entry level roles, the laborer, waste auditor, blah blah blah. And then when we're now transitioning into the professional OHS roles, and we're looking for roles like environmental health and safety specialists, occupational safety officer, occupational hygiene officer, safety advisor, ergonomist. And guys, the most interesting thing, like what I find fascinating the most, like it's actually hilarious, is because every city, every town, every province has an opening for these roles in Canada. Like it's kind of crazy. So what that means is that if, for example, let me look for a small city. Does anybody know Swift Current? There's a city in Saskatchewan called Swift Current or Moose Jaw. What that means is that regardless of where you are in Canada, the city of that role, like the city of that province or of that town, they have this role. Do you understand? So you don't have any excuses. You don't have any excuses. Also, if you want to move, these roles are available everywhere. Like they're not the type of roles that they are you are looking for. Do you understand? Like the type of roles that it actually exists. Like these roles are available. All you have to do is just go for it. Right? I'm just can you hear me turn on this light? Think someone turned it off. Yeah, so these are some rules. Ergonomist is a very interesting one because I think in Canada, I've not run into five Nigerians that are ergonomists. And so, ergonomists, do you know what an ergonomist does? An ergonomist, this is their role. I like to describe things. So now, some of us think that this is my workstation. Some of us think that, oh, you just come here and you just sit down. The ergonomist role is to figure out what angle should your chair be to your desk. So ergonomics generally is pretty much the science about how humans relate with the environment, particularly in the workplace. Things like how are you your screen time, how are you holding your mouse? Like it's really interesting the things that are in ergonomics. So look it up if you're kind of being curious. You want to get a very professional role. You can get a diploma in 6 months, in 9 months, and you're on the path to be an ergonomist. Guys, this was you know what I say is funny to me. People are not happening to it. Like now, if you check black, like our Nigerian Canadian community, if you ask, okay, how many people are doing these roles, you will not find people. Everybody wants to be a BA or be a Scrum Master. And I know I'm going to share my history. I've been there as well. And so some of us, we might be working right now. We're trying to get a job, or we're trying to transition, or we're trying to adapt to the Canadian workplace culture. Guys, I've put together like, don't forget that I said this is not aspire to perspire. We're talking real talk here, and we're being spot on. There are four things. There are a lot of other things, but I believe these ones are very important. Communication in the Canadian workplace culture. What does that mean? Don't assume. In Nigeria, you'll be thinking that, oh, my supervisor knows that, or my manager thinks that. There are no assumptions in the Canadian workplace. There are no assumptions. Like something as simple as you passing a file to somebody. Communicate in email. Don't go and be saying, Michael, did you see? No. Communicate, like you have to document. Communicate. You have to be a great communicator. That's one thing that I find is very important in the Canadian workplace culture. And then the second is collaboration. Are you a team player? Some of us, we have skills. We are good. It's not as if we are not good. We know our onions. We think we are smart, but we are only built to work on our own. We're only built to work alone. In the Canadian workplace, it doesn't work that way. It is teamwork. So if, for example, you know your onions, but on your team now, they say something like, oh, Tunde is not a team player, or maybe they say something like, oh, Nkechi likes to keep to herself, then you're not a good fit. You have to collaborate. Professionalism, that's really broad. We can't like talk about all of that, but as we may know, you have to be professional. You don't make some awkward jokes. You don't tell your colleague that they're beautiful. This is not Nigeria. In Nigeria, we say that, like, hey, Chineye, your hair is nice. This one. If you have a personal relationship with them, that's okay. If you do not, you have to be professional. Every lingua and every language that you are speaking, it has to be professional. And then continuous improvement. That is also a very broad one because continuous improvement will mean things like courses that you are doing, more degrees, more trainings. And so it's really broad, but it pretty much means that you do not want to be in the same spot. Like you want to ensure that you are learning something. Maybe you can give yourself a personal goal to say, okay, biannually, I want to learn something. For me, my own goal was saying on an annual basis, I want to have a new training, or I want to have a new diploma, or I want to have a new degree, or I want to have a new certification. And I've been doing that every year. I'm adding something to my feathers every year. So continuous improvement, you don't want to be in the same spot. So for me, lessons from my personal journey, resilience. We talked about resilience, and resilience for me is how I was able to stay strong while I was looking for jobs, how I didn't give up, how I pretty much kept a tough skin. Humility, that's a very important one. Some of us, we just want to carry shoulders up. There's something Banker put on Twitter recently where she was saying that, oh, she hopes that this money that all of us are saying we have, we truly have it. Some of us, we just see one opportunity or this thing. We're already doing like this. You don't need that. Stay humble. In the words of Erin Allen, adaptability. Some of us were like, oh, I'm not used to doing things like this. You have to be flexible. I don't know how many of us are science. Okay, most of us will be science students. So one of the things we learn in physics is properties of a metal. This is an example. This is a metal. Properties of a metal. One of it is malleability. It is malleable. What that means is that you can turn it like up and down. Another one is ductile. Ductile means you can stretch. So those are like physical properties of metals. So adaptability is kind of similar. Like you want to be able to like, okay, they say, oh, this person, like now, I remember the first time I used a sampling equipment in Canada. Like in Nigeria, we do things on paper. You understand? And they're like, hey, Femi, go and take this water sample. Do you understand? When I start saying, when I was in Nigeria, I've not used this thing before. I don't know how it works. No, no. You have to be adaptable. And now you have ChatGPT, you have Google, you have different things you can use to brushing up your knowledge, not to solely depend on it. You can use to brushing up your knowledge to say, hey, how do I operate this equipment? How do I fix this? You get my point? And then very important, the importance of relationships. Earlier on, we talked about networking. And so the relationships you build. Some of us will like, I mean, and everybody to his own concept. Some people will say things like, I don't want to relate with Nigerians. I don't want to talk to Nigerians. We're not saying you should relate with Nigerians. Relationships is anybody you think you just want to relate with. Sometimes you need a reference. Sometimes you need people to call on. And so you want to have those good relationships. So pretty much for me, these are like high level summary of the kind of lessons I've had on my journey. And then let's talk about job search in today's market, guys. Job market today, as we may know, it has evolved. It has evolved with the advent of new age technology. The job market is crazy. And so what you need, strategy, visibility, and value proposition. These things they matter more than simply applying online. Guys, like it's like it's not just applying online. Do you understand my point? When we talk about strategy, we're looking at what kind of strategy do you want to build to search for a job? I mean, some people sometimes they'll tell me that, oh, Femi, I'm looking for a work. And I ask them that, okay, what role are you looking for? Do you get my point? So you can't just say you're looking for work. We need to know, okay, what kind of role are you looking for? And so what I did when I was looking for jobs is I had a spreadsheet, an Excel spreadsheet where I listed 50 prospective employers that I think I would like to work with. 50, and I'm not exaggerating, 50 that I want to work with. And then I had another 50 that I knew or maybe like I saw online, but I had 50 that me personally on my spreadsheets. City of Toronto, city of Calgary, city of this, province of this, and then some agencies. I had them on a spreadsheet, and then for every job I applied to, I put a date, like I had different columns, put a date, put my application, and then I'll track it with, okay, am I getting a response? Am I getting a rejection? So strategy, and like I said, we're not doing any aspire to perspire here. So strategy is pretty much what you think works. But my point is you cannot be applying for jobs and you are not tracking. You should be able to tell me when I say, okay, how many jobs have you applied to this week? Even if you don't know the number of earth, maybe on a piece of paper or somewhere, you have an idea, okay, I applied to 10 jobs this week. And so that way, you're able to track to say, okay, out of 70 applications, I got 40 callbacks. I got 30 second stage interviews. I got 10. You get my point. So that strategy, I believe Black Catalyst Network would come up with something for us, but we need to have a strategy. Visibility. This part, the easy answer is LinkedIn. In today's day and age, it's kind of the way, like, okay, guys, if for example, you needed a vendor for something and then someone sends you a vendor's name or something, what's the first thing you would do? Please, let's put it in the chat box. Well, in the interest of time, I believe like we have different strategies, but I want to hear what people will do. But the average person will go on Instagram. Do you get it? The average person will go on Instagram and say, okay, who is even this vendor? Do we have any mutuals? Do you understand? And I want to see their stuff. I want to see what they've posted. I'm not just going to give $1,000 to a photographer that I haven't seen their work, or $500 to a food vendor that the one that I know has not tasted their food. So that's what we say when we talk about visibility. How are you positioning yourself? Some of us, our LinkedIn has our picture from 5 years ago or 7 years ago. That cannot work. Any employer you apply to, the recruiters are going to look for you on LinkedIn. If you have premium, you are able to see who viewed your profile. If you don't have premium, then you wouldn't even know. You will think, oh, your LinkedIn is just there for daring's sake. It's not just there for daring's sake. You need to have visibility online. And so this is a clarion call, LinkedIn, touch it up. And one interesting thing I would say is there are ways around these things. Do you understand? If you might be thinking that, oh, you don't have a job in Canada yet, you don't have a job in the OHS field, guys, some of the things we won't say on this Zoom call, but you're free to call me after, you're free to talk to Banker as well. But your LinkedIn matters a lot, guys. So these things, and so value proposition as well. So value proposition is also broad, but it pretty much means what value do you have, like as a recruiter now, if because recruiters have like 100 applications for the same role. So what value are you bringing to the table? Why should I hire you? Why should I even review your application in the first place? Like, what are you bringing to the table? What do you have? And so that would be things like, okay, on your LinkedIn, what are you putting there? On your cover letter, what are you putting there? Like somebody that is an HR professional has told me that the average recruiter spends not more than 2 minutes. Banks, I don't know if I'm right or wrong. What do you have to say to that? The average recruiter does not have more than 2 minutes to look at your resume. And so if someone is looking at your resume, they don't have the time to start searching. So you want to figure out how do you want to beam the things that are important, your achievements. How do you want to highlight it? So, guys, the job market in today is not about applying online. So, all of us that are on the WhatsApp group, I'm always sharing jobs. When people reach out to me and we apply for these roles together. But, guys, there are ways around it. Trust me. This thing is not rocket science. I'm not saying it's easy because I've been there. Before I got my dream job, I waited for 18 months. During those 18 months, I had different roles. Like I said, I was a laborer, I was a field tech. But I knew what I wanted, and I didn't settle because I knew what I wanted for myself, and I knew that for me to get this, I needed to be resilient. Like we said, that resilience. I needed to be resilient. I needed to show that I had value to the employer. So that's what this particular slide deck is about. And so we talked about networking. Now, some of us might be thinking, okay, how do I network in a place where I don't have any friends, I don't know anyone? And so one of the things we can do is to build genuine relationships. It might be in a church environment, it might be in a Nigerian community. And again, we don't have to be, it doesn't have to be a Nigerian community. I have Canadian friends, I have Indian friends. One of my very good friends right now, they're Filipinos. Do you understand my point? So when we say build genuine relationships, guys, don't think that we are boxing you up into this NCL because we need members. No, that's not the idea. We know we have value in NCL, and so what we might offer you, you might not get it in another community. But don't close yourself up. Don't be boxed up. Build those genuine relationships. And the second one, to me, I find very important. I think I was telling Banks the other day about an industry event we attended, and we had just maybe less than 10 Nigerians. And most of these industry events, you don't need to have a job to attend. Manufacturing Safety Alliance exists in every province. Occupational Health and Safety Alliance exists in every province. These are what's it called? These are industries that have funding from the provincial government, from the federal government to host events. Sometimes they host events where people bring in their resume and they get hired on the spot. Or maybe they say, okay, talk to the recruiting manager. But they won't advertise it to say, oh, this is a career fair or this is a job fair. No, because it is not. It is an industry event. But at this industry event, you can go there, you can meet people, learn more about the role you're looking to get into, learn more about industry know-hows, meet people, and you never know. That might be where you might just get your job. You never know. So this industry events, try and just do a quick search and just search for HSC events near me and stuff like that. So there's something on my screen. I'm trying to remember. What do we have here? Use words intentionally. Please, can someone help me read it?
Use LinkedIn intentionally.
Yeah, we talked about LinkedIn earlier. So yeah, you do need to use LinkedIn intentionally. How you're positioning your LinkedIn, your picture, your experience, like the experience you already have. Do you understand? How are you positioning it? So someone told me the other day that they work in a KELM, and I told them you can use that to your advantage because there's a way you will word your job descriptions to make it sound health-like. It is health. It is health actually. So that's my point when I say we have to use it intentionally. Follow up consistent. This one, it might not apply in every scenario, but in scenarios where maybe you've had the first interview, then you want to check to say, hey, yeah, just checking. You don't want to be a pest. It's not as if you'll be following up every day, but you want to follow up to say, what's the ideal candidate you're looking for in this role? What kind of skills are you looking for in this role? What's the day-to-day like for of someone in this role? Or something as simple as saying, hey, thanks for the interview the other day. You're just following up to see if there's any feedback yet or whatnot. So following up. And following up can also mean with people who maybe they're doing referrals for you or whatnot. But just don't apply to a job and just sit down. You can follow up also, go to the company's website, has this position being filled and whatnot. So that's what we say when we say follow up intentionally. And so personal branding is also something that we put here. This applies to each and every one of us looking for jobs or trying to switch jobs. LinkedIn, we don't want to sound like a broken record. We've talked about it over and over. Tailor your resume. Now, we've talked about the resume. How do we want to build our resume? On the next slide, I have something that talks about the resume. But the first one that takes us into that, it says showcase achievements and measurable impact. So what that means is that when I hold your resume, I want to see your achievements. I want to see what you've done. Do you understand my point? I want to like real quick increased compliance from 60% to 80% within 8 months. Zoom. Just want to like just achievements. Like we want to see those on your resume, like real quick. If I have 100 resumes to look at, I'm not going to waste more than 2 minutes looking at your resume. And once I don't see what I need on the resume, I'm moving on to the next one. Be it human, be it ATS. That's the AI tool they use, recruiters use. And ATS is so crazy because ATS has some keywords that it is looking for. So you want to ensure your resume has all of those things. And let's also talk about using artificial intelligence and technology. How are we using AI and how are we using tech? Resume refinement. You can use AI for resume refinement. You can. You will have some human element to it, but you can. Interview prep, you can also use AI to prep for your interviews. If I have an interview, for example, I'm like, okay, AI, I'm interviewing for XYZ role. What does the recruiter want to hear? Or what does the employer want to hear? And don't forget that we said interview preparation, not dependence, because some of us think that because we're talking about AI, then you want to rely on it 100%. No, it's supposed to be enhancing your already existing knowledge, not replacing it. So if you have an interview, for example, now, and you think you're going to use AI only to prepare for the interview, I'm sorry, that might not work. Because some of these things, you want to have a natural element to it. You need that natural element, not just the AI piece. Research and learning, that's also really broad. It's pretty much, sometimes I just carry my phone, Google search, and I just say, what are the top roles in demand in Edmonton today? That are things that I search for. Because I don't want to be searching for jobs I missed. Do you understand? I want to know what exactly is obtainable in today's market. Post-COVID, business analysts were the hot cakes. Everybody wanted to be a BA. Right now, I can tell you for free the number of BA openings that are there compared to 2020, 2021, 2020, 60% lower. So please let us use AI in a good way. Let's know what's out there. Let's know what's needed. Productivity and organization. Earlier on, we talked about using spreadsheets for searching. So, and it might not be spreadsheets. Like if you are a millennial like me, like this is my workstation, and some of the things I have scribbles everywhere. I have a just to show you guys, so that it's not as if this guy is just saying things. You will see it here. Look at it. I'm writing. I'm writing. I'm not just using my phone notepad. I'm trying to be organized. I want to say, okay, this is what I searched for the other day. Some of us, it might be sticky notes that works for us. Look at it. These are sticky notes. So when we say productivity, nobody is a baby here. We're not going to come and babysit you to tell you how to be productive or how to organize yourself. What we are just saying is that if you are trying to search for jobs, you have to be tracking it. You have to organize it. So that's what we mean when we talk about that. And so we're almost at the end of the slides. Interview success. Guys, are we still together? The first thing you want to do is you want to understand the organization. What's the culture of this organization I want to work for? Because when you understand the organization, it gives so now guys, follow me. We talked about the resume earlier on. So now we're assuming that you've put those keywords in your resume, you've developed a strong LinkedIn profile. Only then can we get to this phase. And so when you've done all of that, then you then have the interview. Before the interview, you are researching the organization. You are understanding the organization. Say, okay, what is it like to work at this place? Like you go online. ChatGPT is kind of crazy now if you have the advanced version. Same for Gemini. Same for like, what's the day in the life of a safety officer at City of Calgary? Like, you can just like trying to figure out what exactly it is that is the culture at this workplace. And so that gives you an idea to say, okay, during the interview, like my current job, something crazy that I did, my current job. So it was like 4 or 5 interview rounds. Like, it was really crazy. So on the last day, when we had the final interview, this role required me to do what we call role play. They asked me to role play. And then what I did for that role play was I got my hard hats, I got my safety vest, like PPE basically for the role play. Because I understood that this is an employer that pays attention to detail. This is an employer that likes to go over and beyond. So I understood it and I used that to my advantage. And once I came on the call, you're like, oh wow, you're prepared. And I'm like, yes, I am prepared. And then in this interview now, when someone is on the interview, like now, one thing I want to say is that if you have an interview, don't panic because there's nothing they want to ask you that has not been asked before. There is nothing that they want to ask you that has not been asked before. And then some of us also think that if we don't know the answer to a question, that's the end of the interview. It is not. If you don't know a question, that's not the end of the interview. It is not. One thing you need to do during your interview, you have to prepare stories. I use the word stories very carefully here because Canadians love stories. That's why somebody comes to work on the morning and they're like, oh, I took my dog for a walk over the weekend. From there, we went grocery shopping, telling you things that don't even concern you. It's called small talk. Like they're telling you things that don't concern you. Like they'll say, "Oh, it was really hot. It was really cold. I took a walk down the park. I went skiing." Like just they just want to hear a story. And so, for example, now if you've worked at Nigerian breweries now, you don't want to come and start saying, "Oh, I worked at Nigerian breweries." You want to say something like, "During my time at Nigerian breweries, I was responsible for XYZ." One of the techniques I use, like a story, like storyline format, story, like prepare stories, and those stories you're preparing, you're going to use the STAR method. Some of us are familiar with it. It's a very popular worldwide concept. The S stands for situation. Do you understand? Applying the STAR method. So look at the situation. You are setting the scene. You are describing the context where you were working, what you did, the challenges you faced. And then the T stands for task, explaining your specific responsibility or the goal needed to achieve. You remember earlier when I said something about you were able to drive compliance from 60 to 80%, or something like you were able to reduce lost time from 30 days to 2 days. Like you want to talk about your specific, and then A, the action, the detailed steps that you took. And then you say something like, okay, I was able to achieve that by sending out questionnaires to employees to understand what challenges they had. I was able to conduct a survey. I was able to like just talk about the action. And then the very last is the result. That's when you now say, okay, that then yielded, you are sharing the outcome. And one thing, guys, Canadians love quantifiable data. Is in Nigeria, you will just be saying things like, oh, my daddy's house is very big. Or isn't like, that company is a very no, want to hear like how many acres, how many people were you responsible for? How many sites did you visit in a week? Like, want to hear the quantifiable data. And that's why when I was saying things like 40%, 50%, so one of us need to go back to our resume and let's make it sound sweet. Let us make it sound sweet. Guys, in the OHS field, I'll tell you what, your degrees are important, but they are not as important. If you come with your degree and someone comes with work experience, they're able to talk about their achievements, they're going to floor you with your mark. And that's why we find a lot of people that have master's degrees, because in Nigeria, they teach us to just pass the exam. No, someone that went to a trade school here will school you because he has been in the field conducting sampling, conducting analysis. Do you understand? So if you are not privy to do that in Nigeria, that is okay. But you want to highlight all of the things so that we are still on the same page. We're talking about how we can transition from Nigeria to Canada. And guys, let me tell you something. To each his own. You might have friends in tech. You might have friends in Big Four, in consulting, in accounting. Today, all my friends in tech, all my friends in accounting, I earn more than some of them because I did not compare myself to them. I knew what I wanted for myself. I knew where I was going to. All I needed was the strategy to achieve it. Do you get my point? Strategy to achieve it. Yeah, interview success. The last one is demonstrating adaptability and initiative, guys. And that's where I said you don't have to know everything. My current job, like I said, during my interview, they asked me a question, and that question, I can never forget it because it's something that I like. It sounds simple, but at the same time, so the question was, what is the relation of the center of gravity with operating a forklift? You can Google it. It's an Harvard question. Google it. So there are some questions that are crazy like that. The other one is explain reverse engineering, not define. Defining and explaining are two different things. Explain reverse. And I said, I don't know. But I do not just say, I don't know, Joe. I'm like, yeah, I've heard about the concept before, but I'm not really sure how to put it out right now. However, it's something that I'm sure if I get some leadway or direction, I'm able to. So we are demonstrating that while you don't know it, yes, you don't know. Well, you're not stopping and saying I don't know it. No, you don't know it, but there's a but, there's a clause. An initiative to say, oh, yeah, I'm a fast learner. I'm able to learn things real quick. I have transferable skills. Some of us don't know that we have transferable skills. We've done things in Niger that we can come and use here. We have. So, like I said, everybody's skill is story is different. So, I want to finish this and just give you a practical example of story of my story. Yeah. So, anybody that comes to me and says, "Femi, I'm looking for," all right, sorry, can you pass me water, please? I know. Like, I'm looking for a job. I always tell them that it's not something that you get. You might be lucky. Thank you. You might be lucky and you get a job tomorrow. You might be lucky and you get a job tomorrow. But realistically, I'll tell them that, guy, you need 3 months. You need 3 months. I'll tell you that. I'm not one of those that will come and tell you to aspire, to require, to define, and all of that, blah, 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 all of those gibberish. No. You have to sit down first. In the first month, you are positioning yourself. Some of us, our algorithm is so skilled because the things we are checking on social media cannot even give us the jobs that we need. It cannot, because you are watching Prela and Jarvis or watching some BS that cannot give you the algorithm that. So when we say positioning, you are positioning your devices. You are positioning everything around you to give you information on the role you're trying to get. You are networking intentionally. You go to church. You're not just going to church after you're entering your car. Oh, hey, bro, how fun, Baba, how fun? Sis, how you doing? I heard you work with the city of Alberta or with the city of Edgewood. I recently applied to a role. And, oh, the hiring manager is my friend. Like, that's how things work. So that month one, you are just positioning yourself. You are just positioning your network. You're like, okay, you having an idea that, okay, what are the top employers in my city? What are the top employers in my city? What are the top jobs in my city? Like I showed you in that second slide, when I was seeing those big buildings in Winnipeg, I was like, people that are working in these buildings are entering elevator. They don't have two heads now. Why do I have to work in retail? Because everybody said I'm not shitting on care job or anything, but since I moved to Canada, I have never done care job. No disrespect to people that work in healthcare. It puts food on the table, it is legitimate income, but I have never. Because when I was coming to Canada, I was seeing online that people are working and people are getting the jobs now. You might say the data of people that are getting, but people not. Yes, but why do you have to focus on the other side of the divide of people not getting it? Why? People that are getting it, they don't have two heads. In this same Nigerian Canadian life community, we have people that get jobs even before they land Canada. While they're in Nigeria, they're getting their jobs. So I did not think small. I knew what I wanted and I kept going for it. Even if it took me 18 months to get to the point to say, okay, guy, I'm no more applying for a job, for work. I did not stop and say, because now I've seen one job with one company, I want to stop. Oh, I knew what I wanted. I kept going for it. I kept going for it. And once I did, right now I'm 3 years on my current job. I'm not in when people ask me sometimes about job market, I'm not in the job market, so some things I cannot necessarily relate to. If at some point I feel okay, I want to change or I want to switch career paths, why not? I will. But right now I'm not. So back to the matter, 90-day job search plan. Month one, you've done all of that. Month two, you're putting those applications intentionally, and you're getting those interviews. You don't apply for 5 jobs, you don't get interview, and you're complaining. Why? You need to apply for like 60 or 50 or 20. And people will say, no, I saw something on X. Like, that one thing I want everybody to know, at least we're all on the Nigerian Canadian life on X. See, if you follow people on X, then your life will be in trouble. Because people will just hold their phone and be tweeting things. But we know what we know. We know what we know. Nobody should come and be giving us any BS and say, oh, the people will not tell you how they got there. They won't tell you now. So if you like, go there and go and be saying, oh, you apply for 10 jobs and you just sit down and relax. That is your cup of tea. For me, it is a game of numbers. And I believe that within 3 months, if somebody applies for 50 jobs or 100 jobs, there's no way they won't get 5 interviews. Out of those 5 interviews, there's no way they won't get 2 or 3 callbacks. Out of those 2 or 3 callbacks, all we need is 1 year, guys. We just need that 1 year. And that 1 year cancels out all the no's. Like sometimes when I carry my phone now, I do some jobs now, I'll be like, I applied to this job. I think you guys turn off the lights. I ain't turn it up. I'll be like, I applied to these guys some months ago. I applied to these guys some years ago. You get my point. So I'm not telling you not to focus on particular jobs or particular companies, but the more applications you put out, the higher the chances are. And then the month three is for refinement and follow-up. We're following up with the employer. We're checking out some other applications. And one thing I wanted to say, I don't have it on this slides, is if you're applying to a job, some of us use Indeed a lot. If you're applying to a job on Indeed, please, and please, and please, I'm begging you, that job you see on Indeed, check the name of the employer, go to their website, and see if the job is there. If the job is there, please apply through that job bank or through the employer's website, because Indeed are the ones receiving your application. Do you understand? So now we are applying. Okay, let's be very. I mean, I'm a scientist, so I love to be practical. This is Indeed. This is Indeed there like this. This is the employer. This is me. I'm here like this now. I applied to a job to Indeed now. Indeed is pointing to this glass like this. This is the employer here. What that means is that Indeed is whenever they are ready to give this employer my application, that is when they will give it to them. But if me now, this is me here now like this, I see this job on it. I'm like, hey, Indeed, sit down. Employer, here, you take. Boom. Check my application. They are reviewing it ASAP. These are tested strategies, guys. This is not aspire to perspire. These are things that I've worked repeatedly, things that we've seen. Indeed, they are good. They have jobs, but please don't waste your time on Indeed. Go to the employer's website. Go to LinkedIn. And then people don't also know that the government of Canada in general has what we call a GC job bank. Banks, please, I hope you know, I hope we are putting this information out to our members for them to know that there's a national job bank. Not all employers put their jobs on it, but most of employers, most of them, and it's not only, I'm not talking about only government jobs. No, there's a general job bank where you can apply to lots of jobs. We don't take advantage of that. Let's do that. Check out the job bank, see what they have, put those applications in, and success is going to be on the way for you. Mistakes to avoid. This is not exhaustive. There are lots of mistakes to avoid, but the ones that I think are important, applying without strategy, like just carrying your phone, LinkedIn easy apply. Oh, I pity you're doing LinkedIn easy apply. Neglecting networking. See, networking, trust me, I cannot overflog it. And one thing to know is not everybody is an extrovert. Not everyone. Some of us are introverted, which is cool and okay. But networking does not need you to be a social butterfly. No. But it just needs you to be like, okay, for example, now, I don't know how many of us know Joel in our community. Joel, I can tell you for free that Joel knows at least one person in every city in this Canada. That I might be exaggerating. But let me even say every province. It's the same thing for me. If I land in any province today in this Canada, any province, at least I know somebody. And it's not as if I've met all of them in person. No. From social media, from this call, for example, from our communities. And not everyone will be willing to network with you. That's okay. But people that when you see someone that wants to talk to you, you will know. We're not babies here. You understand? We're not kids. When you see positive energy being returned, you know it. So don't neglect networking, please. For example, I told you that Banky and I lived in the same province. And Banker moved. Some people that Banker met, some of them, she still reaches out to them. Banker formed a hiking group in Victoria, BC. She's no more here. We still do that hiking every Saturday. If tomorrow somebody needs something and I say, okay, within this hiking group, hey, does anyone know someone that knows somebody that knows another person that knows another person, that another person now knows another person again? So it's kind of crazy because that's how Canada is. You can just carry your phone now and say, I have what's it called, job interview in Moose Jaw. Who even lives in Moose Jaw? My current city where I live, Nanaimo, I did not know anybody when I moved here. Nobody. I didn't know anybody when I moved here. What did I do? I went on LinkedIn, again, networking, and I was searching for professionals on LinkedIn. And I met somebody that now told me that he knows Joel. Do you understand my point? So networking is kind of crazy work. You have to network. You have to know, okay. And some of us, we've not also, keep saying we're looking for work. We want to remain in the same province we are. Is your destiny tied to that province? If you moved in as a PMP, is understandable. For example, I had to leave the province where my sister and my siblings. I was living with my siblings in the same city. Do you know how cool that is? You wake up in the morning, you can call your brother, you're going to the house, or call your sister. Well, I had an opportunity that was going to take me out of my comfort zone, and I'm like, hey, why not? So don't think you have to be in one place, please. The next mistake we said to avoid is underestimating transferable skills, guys. And that can be called imposter syndrome, or it can also be called, I don't know what to call it, but it's pretty much just thinking maybe what you've done in Nigeria does not measure up to. No. While we are saying in Nigeria we don't sample, we don't go to the laboratories as much as we should, and all of that, there are still some lots of good things that we do, and they are really applicable here. So try and understand those transferable skills. Giving up too early. That's another one. Giving up too early. Don't give up. Like I said to you, it took me 18 months to get my six-figure job that I wanted. I had good, like I was not out of employment. I was telling someone that when I filed my taxes for the first time in Canada, I had 64s. 64s because I was job hopping. If you had an opportunity here, listen, boom, I'm moving. However, job hopping, there are two ways. Some people will say things like, oh, you have to be on a job for 2 years, blah, 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 blah. In occupational health and safety, I can tell you with all confidence, having been in this field in Canada in 4 years and generally in 10 years, you don't have to be on the same job. No. If you see a better opportunity, you move. In most cases, your employer will want to match what the new prospective employer is giving you. So underestimating transferable skills, please don't do that. Giving up too early, don't do that. You might have a job now, maybe you are getting 50K per annum, 60K per annum. If your goal is 100K, your goal is 120. People make that. People make that are not managers. People make that. So don't give up too early. Do not. Put in the work. Like you have to put in the work, like, hey, refining my resume, doing like just being intentional. Like you cannot give up while you are working, whatever job you are working in retail, you are working in whatever. If you like me now, for example, my own story is kind of different because me, when I go to Canada, I realized very early that occupational health and safety in Canada, the government agencies are the ones that pay good money. Why? Because they have something to lose. You can wake up tomorrow and sue your city. You can sue the city of Edmonton for poor air quality. You cannot sue any private coil. The private guys, they're going to lowball you. This is different from accounting and consulting or banking. No. If you are in OHS, I can tell you for free, target the government agencies because you are looking for flexibility. While we're talking about hustle, 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 you don't want a job where you are working around the clock. As a civil servant, I can wake up tomorrow morning and I decide that I want to work from home or I want to bank my like there's flexibility. When I worked for GFL, I used to wake up by 6 a.m. overtime every day. And I'm like, it's not about everything is not money. Because the private guys will tell you that, oh, they will pay you overtime. No, I want my mental health to be in check. I want to come home and play FIFA. I want to come home and call my guys in Nigeria or my guys in the UK. Do you understand my point? So that's why we say strategy. So you have to sit down and say, okay, if you think that, okay, for you, you want a big name company, you want to work in maybe, what's a big name? GFL is like one of the top in Canada, but environmental services, well, I don't know, but private firms, whatever, if that's what your goal, like you want, some people like those fancy things on their resume. That's your goal. Like, and the interesting thing is that even some big fours have environmental roles, but not as much. Like EY, for example, PwC, KPMG, they have some sustainability openings, they have some OHS roles. They might not be as much, but like I said, every city in Canada, every province by law must have a workers' compensation agency. And what does that mean? Workers' compensation means for every worker in that province, the health and safety of those workers. And try and understand what I'm saying. No, I'm not saying the city, in the province. On our group, I shared a job, government of Nunavut, 120K entry level. That's just an example. Because these government agencies, they have real business that they are doing. They want to keep people safe. They have things that they are doing, and so there are always openings. Safety roles, hygiene roles, economics roles, lots of roles in these cities, in these firms. And so you have to keep learning online trainings, online simulations. You just have to keep learning. You have to see this relationship one. I cannot emphasize it enough. And I'll just like let me just highlight my cursor. This guy back in the camera, is called Mazi Okonu. You can Google him. Or Alison Okonu. Otherly known as what's happening? Why is the slide moving? Yeah, so key takeaways now. That's where we are now. Yeah, so why I have this picture here is this is 2022. This is a city called Brandon, Manitoba. And we're in the city of Brandon's one of their facilities. You can see dustbins here. So, like I said, I've done waste management a lot. And when we say waste management, don't we're not talking about we're not packing, we're taking data. All these bins you think people just come and just carry. They study this thing. If you're interested now, City of Edmonton, City of Vancouver, they have data of percentage of recyclable waste collected, the percentage of commingled wastes. They will give you the name of the most compliant street when it comes to waste management and all those things. So we're in Brandon, Manitoba, and if I tell you how I got this job, it's kind of crazy. This guy, Mazi Okono, there's a company in Nigeria called Recycle Points. I don't know how many of us know them. They are one of the foremost recycling firms in Nigeria. And so what did I do? This thing I did is actually crazy work. Mazi lives in Regina. So when I was in Winnipeg and I was looking for work at some point, I went to Mazi's LinkedIn to see where Mazi was working. This is a true story. And so I saw Mazi's company. I can't forget the name of the company, AET Group. They moved me to Kitchener. We are still very good friends. Kitchener, Ontario. AET Group, they are the number one environmental auditing firm in Canada. They conduct environmental audits all across the country. BC, Alberta, Manitoba, anywhere. That's what they are known for. They are in Kitchener, Ontario. That's where their office is. And I went to Maz. Maz is working here. I have this experience now. I didn't tell Maz initially, but I went to the employer's website. I got a job. Sorry, I got a job. What's it called? I saw an opening, and so I applied. So when I now applied, I now told Maz that, sir, I applied to this company. I can see that you currently work there. Long story short, that's where led us here. This guy is one of my friends, Dio. I didn't know him personally, but I met him on the job. But Dio he has left OHS now. I think he switched to tech. But Dio at the time, he came from Ontario. So that's Dio. Then Mazi. Mazi is still in environmental management, by the way. His wife, Choma, they are like top environmental. Like if you're in the OHS world in Canada, you should be following them either on LinkedIn or anywhere. They have a company in Nigeria called Recycle Point that has gotten about $5 million in grants in the past 15 years. They are pioneers in environmental science and they still do that. They help people. You get so Mazi was leading the project. So in my mind, I was not like, a Nigerian is leading a project in this Canada. So long story short, Mazi was our team lead. And then we had three Nigerians, so it was fun. Having three Nigerians on the team, we were getting along easily. We traveled around Manitoba, collecting data, doing waste sampling. Oh, it was fun. It was fun. So relationships very helpful. And then this is me in my element in the field. This is when I was on one of my jobs where I was required to be in the sun sometimes. And I say here, keep pressing on. Please, this is not, I have a degree in journalism. So please don't think some of this is not AI. Progress is really linear. What that means is this is what linear means. I was on a straight line, there. On a straight line, there. That's linear. So what it means is that progress is not linear. Progress is like when how many of us play carries? These are progresses. Do you understand? So some people are lucky. Some of us in life, we are so lucky. We finish school, we get a job, we move to Canada. Some of us are like that. We are lucky like that. While some of us, we have to chase these things. But what I want every one of us to know is that every setback can become a setup for growth and opportunity. It can. Because when I was in Nigeria, I flunked college. Went back, finished. Why did I flunk college? Because I was in entertainment. But that entertainment experience also helped me. Do you get my point? So I now look back and I'm like, okay, if I really finished my engineering degree and I didn't transfer to sciences, will I be working in Shell or Chevron? Or if I had done that, who knows, I might not even have the job that I want. But the point from this is that every setback can set you up for growth and success. So please, if things are looking rough right now, you have to keep pressing on. You cannot give up. Absolutely not. And so That is the end of my slide deck, and I would appreciate if we have any questions. Let the admin unmute you, ask your questions. I'll tell you what my story is. Like I said, the summary, I moved to Canada as a self-employed individual. I moved here self-employed. My knock, I cannot forget it. My knock is 2263. 2263, that's environmental health and whatever, whatever. But Google it, that's it. Knock 2263. I moved. And by the time when I moved, I knew I wanted to get a government job. That was my goal. I wanted to have a government job. Like that is so while I was getting job with all this AET group, GFL, I appreciated it. But I wanted a government job and I kept going for it. And what did I do? I applied crazily to 5 provinces. Manitoba, where I was, they did not give me the job. City of Toronto Solid Waste Management Division, they gave me a job 1 month after I resumed my current job. And I'm like, are you guys kidding me? Do you understand? So that's my own story. I moved here self-employed, NOC 2263. I've never done care job in Canada. There's nothing wrong in doing it. I've done retail. I've done what's it called landscaping, but I haven't done care job because I do not have the temperament for it. So you have to know your temperament. Don't think because they say they are paying $30 per hour in care job that you have to do. No. Do you know what the people that lands? Do you know the people that are in construction sites? You know what they pay how much they pay traffic controllers? So there are different roles in occupational health and safety you need to open your eyes into. So if you are here today, you're trying to transition or you're already in the field, you're trying to get a job, guys, it is doable. You have the resources, you have everything around you, you have a strong community you need to make good use of. I appreciate direct questions. That's enough of the talk. I like to talk myself.
Thank
So
you, Femi.
if,
Makpami.
yeah,
Ah,
over to
thank
you,
you,
man.
Femi, for the talk. So I wanted to ask, like, before we go like further, right? Because yesterday I was talking to one guy that said was he's in health and safety, and he joined the group, and he wanted so. My question is, if somebody wants to transition, right, and you are not from, because I know you are in sciences. What if the person is not in sciences?
I would advise them to do a diploma. Most of the diplomas take 6 to 9 months. That's a fast track. A
Six
diploma
to
is a very good way to go. Yeah, I would
okay.
advise them to take a diploma.
So, everybody's always saying tailor your resume. And, this question might not necessarily be for this particular role, health and safety, and I know you mentioned use AI, but how?
To enhance, not like fully using AI to do your
No,
resume.
no,
No.
no, no. I mean, like, yeah. I was saying, like, when people say tailor, 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 like, to you, what does tailoring mean to you, right? Because you already have health and safety. I mean, you did it in Nigeria, right? So when you were applying to all these jobs in 5 provinces, how did you tailor your resume for each province? I think that's the question.
Yeah, okay.
Was there any trick that you used that you can share, or was it just, some people will put in their resume and then the job description and then AI will tailor. But
Yeah.
did you do anything different or was it just the same, the same?
Okay, so when I was doing my AI was not as crazy as now. It wasn't a thing. But one thing I did is I made sure to put what the role entails. So for example, now if I'm applying for a safety officer role, now I'm putting things like I'm familiar with the regulation because every province has a regulation. Like it's called all health and safety regulation. Every province has it. So if you're a safety officer, for example, your job is to enforce the regulation. So I'm putting things like strong knowledge of regulation. I'm putting things like strong knowledge of environmental concepts. I'm putting things like working knowledge of machinery and equipment. Things that are like in line with what that job description is about. So I'm pretty much looking at the job description. Like that's why I also said, let's look at the day to day. Do you understand? So if, for example, now I worked at XYZ in Nigeria, do you understand? I can add some of the things that this employer is looking for because I'm not lying because I worked at this. Because another thing I realized banks is that some of the things we call like some of the terminology we use in Nigeria is kind of different. Do you understand? It might be the same thing. So that's why before you apply to a job, there's no rush. Look at the job description. I'm trying to look for my resume. People on here might have seen my resume. I decided not to share it on this call because it is recorded. But on my resume, I have an introduction. A three-liner, not too long. But some of the things that are important that I put, experience in conducting risk assessments. So bank, that's a very important one for an OHS professional, either economic safety officer. Risk assessment is a term that we use. And what does that pretty much mean? Assessing risk. Risk assessment means you are looking at a situation and you are trying to figure out what are the risks, what are the hazards. So that's one. Risk assessment is a very important one. The second one, implementing control measures. I talked about regulation. What that means is that every province bank here in Canada, they have their regulation. So what that means is that every employer, they have regulation that they must abide by. And so some of it is implementing control. I'll give you an example now. On a construction site now, in every province, to the best of my knowledge, you cannot be more than 10 feet high without having fall protection. Do you understand? So if I'm applying to a job now as a safety officer or a foreman or a site super, I'm saying things like implementing control measures, because when we talk about controls, we have what we call the hierarchy of control. And on the hierarchy of control, what that means is that the first thing we're looking at is elimination and substitution. What that means is that if a task is not necessary, we eliminate it. The second is engineering control. So in your resume, you're saying something like working on a lot of engineering controls. Engineering controls, it sounds ambiguous, but engineering controls pretty much means anything that is science-like to curb that hazard. An example of engineering control, if you look at this image on my screen, you can see where my cursor is. This is a local exhaust ventilation system, an LEV. That's an engineering control. Do you get? After engineering control, we have administrative controls. Administrative controls, that's like your day-to-day, okay, this is how we want to work, this is our plan. And then at the very least, it's called the hierarchy. And in any interview, they will mostly ask you, so please, you can quote me, hierarchy of control. An employer in OHS will ask you, what do you know about the hierarchy of control? The hierarchy of control pretty much means how we manage hazards. And what they are looking for is that, because when you say how do you manage hazard, the first thing you will say is, where my PPE? No. On the hierarchy of control, PPE is what we call least desired. Means we go to PPE when all else has failed. Elimination has failed, engineering has failed, administrative control has failed. That's when we go to PPE. But let me go back to the resume. I also have here, I say coming up with results instantaneously. You can word your own differently. I say coming up with results instantaneously. Problem solving and decision making. These are my areas of expertise that I see on my resume. Hazard identification and elimination. So if an ATS is scanning this now, ATS wants to see that risk assessment one. I might not be sure of any other one, but ATS wants to know that as a professional in the field, you know what risk assessment is. You look at a job task and you are assessing the risk. And depending on what you do, you might not be doing that. Your job might be as simple as saying, oh, okay, your own is to inspect employers. And when you are inspecting employers, you are not dictating their work. There's already a regulation existing. Like now, I was talking to somebody, I don't know if they're on this call, but me and the person, I was showing them a better regulation. So in Alberta, there's a regulation now of things like smoking in the workplace. Regulation on things like refusal of unsafe work, where every worker has the right to refuse unsafe work. And there's a four-step procedure to that. Do you understand? So as someone looking for jobs, some of this regulation, you need to try and know it. Because when you start working, you have to know regulation. Like in British Columbia, for example, now we have 33 parts of the regulation. What that means is that you cannot know everything. But the important ones that are a no-brainer, like first aid, for example, now one of the regulations says something like, so now when we talk about risk assessment, you need to know every province has it that based on how many workers you have on site, there's a number of first aid kits that must be there. You need to know the distance to the closest hospital. So those are the type of things that the recruiters want to look at to say, okay, what does this person have an idea of? Because banking, unlike accounting and banking, OHS is very practical. You cannot come and bamboozle someone and be explaining. No. See, look at the pictures here. I did not put some, but these are every city that I've worked in. Like, for example, when I was in City of Regina, this was my official truck that I was driving around for work. You can see the rocks behind it. This is City of Winnipeg. Do you understand? So this is a field where you are figuring out what is happening. We are providing solution on a day-to-day basis. And so, if for example now you're a safety officer, which I would advise people to go into, safety officer is very good because as a safety officer, what your job is doing is you are enforcing regulation. So, for example, now you wake up in the morning, you go to a manufacturing facility, and what we are going there to do is to ensure that they are in compliance with regulation. So you yourself, you have to know regulation before you can know if someone is in compliance. But you don't have to know all the regulation because when you are going there, you are only going to talk about the particular topic. So for example, now we can be going to talk about silica. So all you have to know is for that particular day is what is the regulation saying on silica. And anything that the employer does not have in place, you issue what we call orders. You issue an order. And then it will now be your job to follow up with that employer. So what I like about OHS is that you have, it's like the Bible. There's a regulation that you are working with, or the Quran. There's a regulation that you are working with. And either you're working in private or government, what you are doing is keeping your site safe. If, for example, now you're a site superintendent, your job is to work, you come on site in the morning, your workers, like your colleagues, rather not your workers, your colleagues, you are conducting a toolbox talk to have a plan for the day. This is what we want to do today. This is how we want to do it. Using PPE is mandatory, not optional. You document that. So as someone seeking job, you have to be putting things like like communicator because you have to be someone that knows how to communicate on site. You must know how to communicate. You must know how to respond swiftly. Do you understand? You must know how to conduct monitoring. Monitoring, you must not know how to, but you can learn monitoring. Monitoring, not everybody knows how to conduct monitoring. And like I said, there are different roles. Occupational safety, one thing. So when you're applying for a job, know what you're applying to. Occupational safety deals with physical safety. Physical safety, that means things like construction sites, things like manufacturing, things you can see, things like ladders. For example, I don't know how many of us know that any ladder in Alberta or BC must be marked for grade. What that means is that the ladder must show you how many pounds or how many kilograms it can carry, and it has an expiry date. So if you go on site and you're doing an inspection now, you ask the employer, okay, when last did you inspect this ladder? Can I see it? And then another regulation says that employers must use equipment according to manufacturer's instructions. So that's why I said you don't have to know everything. So let's say somebody's using a grinder on site now. You don't have to figure it out by yourself. What we are going to ask for is that can you see the manual of the grinder? So if you see the manual of the grinder now, the manual can say service annually or service six every like biannually. So you're asking the employer, can I see your last inspection record? Do you understand? That's if you are working in a compliance enforcement kind of role. If you are working in maybe like a private coin now, like GFL, now I like to use GFL as an example because they're in every city in Canada. Not every, I mean, but they're in lots of cities. GFL is looking like, okay, your risk assessment. How are you? Like that risk assessment one is risk assessment and implementation of controls. They go hand in hand. They go hand in hand because when we talk about occupational health and safety, bank, it speaks for itself. Occupational, like day-to-day work, occupational health and safety. And now, with the advent of mental health, Ontario, Alberta, and BC have what we call psychological safety. And by regulation, every employer needs to have what we call a bullying and harassment policy. So if you're a psych, if you are someone that you like psychology or you are a Gen Z and mental health thing is on your, there's a role for you there because their job, those guys that are in psych safety, what they do is they go to workplaces to investigate things like racism. Do you understand? So your job now is that you are going there trying to see what policies does the employer have in place, and not just having the policies on paper. Another regulation says that every worker must receive training and orientation specific to their workplace. So what that means is that if you are doing an inspection, for example, and the employer says that okay, this person has been trained on XYZ, you are asking for training records. And then the regulation now further says that those training records must be kept for a minimum of 10 years. Do you understand my points? And then you also have asbestos. Some of us might know what asbestos is. Asbestos abatement is a big thing now on the rise, where if a home was built before 1990 in Alberta, in BC, in Ontario, and Manitoba, if that home was built before 1990, before they do any renovation or any demolition, they have to investigate for hazardous materials. So if, for example, now you work as a City of Calgary safety officer now, so they'll just give you a file now. They can say, okay, McLeod Trail, 890 McClure Trail. There's a job now. So that gets assigned to you. Your job is to go there and figure out the contractor doing the work. Have they done the test? So when have they done the test? If they've done the test, yes, you review it. And then after doing the test, the procedure that the employer has come up with, does it? So I'm giving you now, now I'm being personal. I'm giving you like a day to day for someone that worked with the city of Edgery, city of Edmonton, city of any role at all that is with the so the city ones. But why the city ones are good is that the city ones they are mostly enforcement. What that means is that there's already an expectation of what the employer is supposed to do, and what you are going to do is you are opening regulation to say, okay, for example, now this truck in this picture now, there's a regulation that says that they must not like be idling, except maybe it's an emergency. Do you understand? So you'll be checking out things like, okay, the exhaust, what kind of air is coming out of the exhaust? Is there visible dust? And then you also have confined space. Some people on this call as well. Over the summer, there's what we call shutdown. That's very popular. Where people got these shutdown jobs where they were hatches, watching for confined spaces. So confined spaces, that's another very important one because a confined space pretty much means any space that is not designed for continuous human occupancy. And so, for employers to conduct work in confined spaces, they need to come up with procedures. So, OHS is lots of things that have to do with procedures. You are reviewing procedures. Does this procedure make sense on paper? You are reviewing injury rates. When last was there an injury? What caused the injury? That's when you have things like root cause. You're trying to figure out the root cause. What exactly caused the injury, and how are you making plans to ensure it doesn't happen? Do you understand? Your job can also be going into the field to collect data. So, for example, now they can send you to maybe like a farm in Lethbridge and say, go and collect 5 soil samples. When you collect the samples, you're not the one testing it. You will take it to the laboratory, they will test it. So, the life of a civil servant in Western Canada is very interesting because you're going to run into lots of interesting things. I am encouraging people to get into civil service. Like they are, it's good to work with the big four and stuff like that. But for OHS, try and get into the civil service because the civil service is where they will train you well. You can come with zero knowledge. There's budgets for training. They will train you, you learn on the job, you grow, you have a defined pension, you have defined healthcare benefits, you get good holidays. The private guys are going to walk your ass out. Some of us might know LNG in Alberta. LNG now has been operating for years. There are lots of roles, occupational health and safety roles in LNG. I've not heard anybody applying to LNG. Are we applying to LNG? Do you understand? But for your question specifically, Banker, it depends on the role. For example, now, if the role is an economics role now, you have to be putting things like strong understanding of musculoskeletal injuries, MSI. What MSI means is internal injuries like carpal tunnel syndrome, where your hand is paining you. So the ergonomist, what the ergonomist does is ergonomist will come to a workplace. For example, now maybe like Calgary Transit. They will inspect the seats of the drivers. Okay, this driver's height is this driver is 5'7" or 5'5" or 6'1". There should like and there's already the regulations. All you are just going to do is you check the regulation. Okay, driver is 6'1", height of chair. Another one happening right now in summer is heat stress. There's heat stress in the summer. So people are going to restaurants like officers of the province. They are going to restaurants to inspect those restaurants to say, what are you putting in place to reduce worker exposure to heat? There's already a threshold to say a worker must not be exposed to more than 7 point. There are numbers to this thing. So you can easily measure them and say, okay, this is what it needs to be. But you have to read a lot, I'll be honest with you, because if you are going out to enforce regulation, you need to know your onion as a black person. As people are going to test you, they're going to tell you, are you sure you know what you're talking about? But getting the job itself, like I said, look at the day to day. And then that day to day is what you use as the keyword. Yeah, that's my answer.
Mubarak. Hey, God, please don't let me. Please just. You didn't know
Hi.
Mubaraka?
Yes, that's
Ah,
it.
God, I beg.
Hi. Thank you, Baba Femi. You've said a whole lot of things, and I'm just trying to process everything. So my question is, as a new grad that is trying to get into an entry level role and they don't have, let me say they don't have any experience, just IT, NYC, and then that's it. how do they position themselves into, for instance, OHS or even any other what's it called, industry?
Are they a new grad of a science-related course?
So for me, I studied computer science for my undergrad, and I'm currently a master's student, but I'll be done this August. I am studying business data analytics, and I know it's nothing related to
It is
OHS at all,
related.
but I
I,
do
I, I
I
told
think
you we did
yeah,
something. It's related. Analytics is related. Data.
yeah, I think safety analytics is also part. That's that one I know. So how do I position myself, especially like in my resume? Like I don't have any experiences. Do I have to start working on portfolios or what exactly am I supposed to do?
Okay, so the first thing I'll say is if your school every school has an environmental department or occupational health and safety department, you need to be chatting with them to see if they have any volunteer opportunities. That is a first way you can get in real quick to understand how, because what you said, I like it. You have business analytics skill. I'm a certified Scrum Master.
Mm-hmm.
I'm talking on this call. I'm a trained analyst for business analysts. One of my roles was recycling analyst, where I'm analyzing the data of recyclables. So it's kind of interwoven. Everything goes hand in hand.
Right.
You already have a computer science degree. You are doing a course right now. I would say on campus, figure out if they have an environmental sciences department or occupational health and safety department. See how you can do stuff for them, like volunteer for them. That's one thing.
Okay.
The second thing is the Canadian Red Cross takes volunteers all year long. That's one thing I forgot to mention. Before I got a good job, I volunteered with the Canadian Red Cross, and it was a very good thing to have on my resume.
Okay.
Volunteering too might be a good piece, but you on campus, you are kind of luckier than the other ones. If you're on campus, you need to figure out if I know of UBC. UBC they have an occupational health and safety, like a whole department where either you are studying something related or not, you can volunteer your time. You can also learn more about what they do.
Okay.
And we,
Thank
we,
you.
we can also talk. You can get my number from bank here or join our
Okay.
WhatsApp group.
I'll
I
do
follow
that.
one-on-ones with people every other day.
I'll
So
do that. Thank you so much.
welcome.
Sorry,
Thank you, Banks.
thank you. Um, so a question, because you said now that you can do, did you say occupational data analyst? I've forgotten
No,
what you
I
said.
no, I was a recycling analyst.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. So are you saying that anyone that, so do you have to have a degree in health and safety to be,
No, no.
oh,
If you have a degree in tech, and
oh,
you are able to use that degree in tech to have understanding, because this is why I say it's kind of interesting, banks, and why AI cannot take our jobs. Occupational health and safety pretty much means the health and safety of workers. So as long as workers exist, even for what's it called, AI and stuff, we have a department called IoT in my office, Internet of Things. They are not OHS professionals. These guys are tech guys, and what they are figuring out is IoT, Internet of Things, connectivity, how occupational health and safety is advancing with artificial intelligence. So it's about positioning. You can have a tech background and still, yeah.
Okay. Hi, please. I have a question. So I have a background in law, and I did a program with an employer with respect to Safety Watch. But from so I'm caught in between whether to actually focus on it. But in terms of upside, thanks for this exciting training. You sort of opened my eyes to see how like some of this experience can be spinned off, right? But I didn't follow through. I did the training, passed the assessment, just to do some of the tickets so that I can start being deployed. But my concern was, is this something I would continue to do? Because it's sort of, I mean, the safety watch requires you to physically be present. You're focusing on what they are doing on site, confined spaces. You're literally like, it doesn't give
Lockouts. Do
you
you guys do
any.
lockouts? Do you monitor lockouts? Lockout
Yeah,
and tagout.
yes. So it doesn't give you any room for, you're not going to be at home, you're going to be on a site. So I was sort of, after finishing like the training, I was sort of held back to say, is this something I want to do long term? Or is this something I just want to do? How can I spin this off? So my question is obviously like in terms of roles that are like entry level like this, is there an upside to when you started? And then the second question has to do with the fact that, for example, some of these roles are part-time roles.
Yeah.
So it's seasonal. So that's why I did actually push through. And I did get the link from the bank's platform. But I just wanted to get a sense of how one can spin it off into a stable, sort of career when you're starting from an entry level. Most of those I did the program were students.
Yeah.
And I have almost 13 years experience, before coming to Canada as a lawyer, But I mean, I do get the way you've explained it about how you have to do with laws, regulation. I think my background helps in that regard.
Absolutely.
But, it's about how do I get up? Because I can't, I mean, the job is based on, we have a job in 2 weeks, you do it, then you're off, so, yeah, I would like to get it.
Absolutely. Thank you. Yeah. Having a degree in law and having some experience as a safety watch, I think you are set up for success. You need to look at some roles like safety tech roles, field tech roles, safety advisor. That's another one. Safety advisor. Because you can put in your experience as a safety watch, coin it, even if it was part-time, you put it there and you're set up for success. I think we should chat. I'm interested in you because having 13 years law experience, I think you would fit into any workers' compensation board in Canada easily. Like I said, don't forget, Google it if you want to confirm. Every province has a workers' compensation board. Ontario, they were the first, and then everybody followed suit. So in Alberta, we have workers, WCB, Workers' Compensation Board Alberta. In BC, we have WorkSafe BC, which is where I work. In Manitoba, we have Workers' Compensation Board Manitoba. And what these guys do is that they ensure all the workers are safe. That's one. Number two, if a worker gets injured at work, for example, now, they are the ones that pay. So every employer in the province, they pay what we call premiums. An employer pays premium to the Workers' Compensation Board to protect them because if somebody gets injured now and they sue their employer, they are going to milk that employer badly. But workers' compensation, like the name implies, compensates. They are compensating the worker to say, okay, you are injured, so we're going to pay you based on. So every employer, they pay annually, they pay what we call premiums. They are insuring themselves. Do you understand? So as they're insuring themselves, the workers' compensation agency is inspecting them. They inspect all these employers. The only places we don't inspect, mines, banks, and airports. Every other workplace you can think of. I inspect, for example, that's why I can even work in a care home because it's conflict of interest. I can be deployed to care home. Like if, for example, a client stabs somebody, it's going to be my job to go there. What led to the stab? What violence assessment has the employer done? And how do we want to compensate the worker? But the compensation side of the worker, that will be for the guys that we call them claims manager. When they say claims manager, I don't think it's a big role. No, it's a good paying role. But what claims manager means is that the claims manager, they are handling the claim for the worker. So if, for example, some of us, we do not know, we've been hot at work, we did not follow up. Do you understand? So your safety watch role can be used to your advantage. We can put it as you having experience in implementing confined space controls. We can talk about you understanding confined space hazard assessments. Confined space is hot cake in Western Canada. Yeah. If you have experience in confined spaces, that is.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. So please check out City of Calgary, City of Adri, and not only cities again, like private cores, hiring safety advisors, hiring field tech. Look at the job description, not the job title. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Some other people have Damilola R.A. Or is that the person I just spoke?
No. Hi, Femi. Thank you for taking your time to explain everything. I just have a few questions about the job posting that I've seen as somebody that is just transitioning into OHS without prior experience or science background. When I go over the job posting, I see 5 years work experience is required. And for me, that's sort of discouraging. I just started my occupational health and safety diploma in what's it called, University of Calgary, but I do have a master's in environmental economics and management.
You have a master's in MEM?
MIM, yeah.
Wow, ma'am. Yeah, I know. Yeah. Wow.
So it's and I just moved to Calgary, so it has
Okay.
been difficult for me to actually transition into OHS. When I go on Indeed, I mostly use Indeed, and I see they require 5 years of
No,
working
I disagree
experience
with that.
before.
We have lots of jobs on our group that don't have that requirement. People on our health and safety group can attest to that. The 5 years experience, you might be looking at more advanced roles. Lots of the roles we share on a daily basis, you don't require 5 years. You also have a master's in MEM. I think you are set up for success. You have an advantage that a lot of us do not. If you are on campus right now, again, I would say try to do some volunteering with the Occupational Health and Safety, or sometimes they call it OHS Wellness department on campus. But with your degree and your experience, you should be applying to some jobs. Don't look at the ones that are managerial. Look at the
And
ones,
so I started with administrator role, HSE
and they are asking for
administrator.
5 years.
Yes.
Well, I beg to differ, but that's okay. We can chat about that offline. But I can tell
Mm,
Damilola, sorry, let me cut you. You know, sometimes
mm-hmm,
some of these JDs, don't look at the JD, don't look at the we require you to have 10 years, 5 years experience, right? Just
mm-hmm.
apply all the same. Mm?
Okay.
Because if you look at that, you might feel unqualified and you might sell yourself short. So even if it says 5 years, because I feel like that's what they in Canada, that's what they do. Anything, 5 years experience in this field, 5 years, even
Mm,
if the role is even if the pay is not commensurate to what they are asking for. So
asking, yeah.
don't let it deter you. Just go ahead to apply. And like he said earlier, if you are doing, let's say 10 a day, 10 applications a day, or maybe just five targeted applications a day, there is no way something will eventually come out.
Mm, okay.
don't be discouraged. Let's keep those applications going on. Don't look for the ones that are asking for 5 years. There are lots of them that don't require 5 years. Calgary is our country. Lots of OHS jobs. Yeah.
Okay. I was going to ask, do you guys actually add people to your group chat?
Oh yes.
And how do we join the group
Banks,
chat?
banks will add you. Banks is the administrator. Banks.
Did you let me I'm using I'm using my I'm using my laptop for this. I'll
Okay.
have dropped it in the okay, let me see if I can put the link inside this chat.
Okay. Thank you. And my final question, sorry, I probably have too many questions. I've been in the accounting field just
Yeah.
because I did economics
Yeah.
as my bachelor's degree. How do I then, I'm currently doing my, what's it called, my OHS, but how do I position my resume and set myself for success, considering that I don't really have like any experience when it comes to OHS?
Again, like I said to you, try and figure out on campus your safety and awareness department. That's one thing. If you have accounting background, you have MEM, I think you should be looking at educator roles. Have you heard
Mm,
of that before?
no.
Educator roles, yeah, you should be looking at that.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Yeah.
So there was somebody else that raised their hand after Dami, but I can't figure out who the person is. So if
Babatunde, I see Babatunde's hand.
oh,
So,
okay.
Okay, that will be me. Thank you so much, Branks and Femi.
yeah.
Thank you for the insight. So where do I start from? So I got to know about, safety officer job through, a friend of mine that I was talking to. He's been here for a while. And so he got his own first role with, I think it was Canadian Naturals or so on field, and he was a safety officer. So I decided to, okay, look at safety jobs and all. And I think I went through AXA. AXA, that's Association of Construction Safety, whatever.
That's
In
good. Nice one.
Abacha.
Nice one. Nice one. Making those industry.
So I did a few courses there because I noticed that most of or some of the roles that were open here, construction safety jobs, they were asking for NCSO. And for you to have NCSO, I think even if you have construction experience, a foreign construction experience, you still need at least 1 year construction experience here in
Some of them might also want you to be Red Seal.
Yeah. Um, so that was that. But the very first job interview I got was, a safety officer's job. Yes, it didn't pull through, but
Safety
he showed
officer.
me.
Okay. Well, was it private or government?
It was private. It was with this it was a school for, you know, here in Calgary. I think they had the school for notorious kids or kids that needed care.
Correction. Okay. Okay.
Yes, so that was my first whatever. But because I didn't have any prior experience in safety and all, I literally put my LinkedIn to sleep.
Mm.
Yeah, like I hibernated it. So because I looked at it, I'm coming from a consulting background,
Yes,
how
there's a
will I?
director consultant as well. So coming from a consulting background, it doesn't mean you cannot.
Yeah,
I
so I
had to
just,
switch volunteering. So if you can, because from what I hear, you
yeah,
have the for you to land an interview for a safety officer role,
okay,
then you have done a good job. I'll say apply to more safety officer roles.
okay,
Apply to lots of them. In your consulting experience, try and highlight things about leadership, things about teamwork. And if you can see, guys, in Canada, trust me, volunteering experience it works like magic. Try and don't not just volunteer for volunteering's sake. Let it be related to what we're talking about. So if you have any Canadian Red Cross, like I said, they're always accepting new volunteers. And you don't have to, the program I volunteer for Canadian Red Cross right now, I don't have to be in the field. I do everything from home. So you don't have to be in the field. Don't think because you want to volunteer for them, you're going, no. So there's a difference between a volunteer and a first responder. A first responder are the ones that if there is war in Yemen or Haiti, they are going there. No. As a volunteer, your job can be as simple as calling somebody that's had a traumatic workplace incident to check on them. They call that the friendly calls program. Canadian Red Cross, they have over 50 programs like that where they need people all over the country. So what I would say is try and get some volunteer experience. And even before you get any volunteer experience, I think you can still apply to some more jobs using your consulting experience to show that you're a team player, you understand collaboration, and you can apply some of these concepts of health and safety. That's what
all
I
right,
would.
all
And
right.
you can feel free to reach out to me. We can talk as well.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Um, are we missing any other?
Um, the last 20 minutes for questions before we let Baba Femi go. I don't think anyone has any questions. I dropped
Okay.
the link to the health and safety group in the chat.
Okay.
So anyone that wants to join, is free to join. But thank you, Baba Femi, for doing this. You're my guy always. Thank you for taking time out of your Sunday, to do this. And thank you to everybody that joined. I hope your questions were answered. It usually takes me a while to edit videos, so it might take me a long time to edit this video, but I'm working on editing all the things we have done. I'm putting it on YouTube. Oh,
Okay.
somebody raised their hand up.
Okay.
Dayo.
Yes, good afternoon. Sorry, I was trying to look for the raising and this thing, so before you started rounding up. Thank you, Baba Femi and Banks, for this great platform. So I think my question is somehow similar to the last person. So I work in construction in Nigeria.
Hmm. That's
Work with
already
Julius.
a one.
I work with Julius Berger, Nigeria. So,
Ah, let me adjust my seats. Then Jimmy.
so I recently landed in Calgary in Canada. So trying to look for how to align myself to I mean to what's happening and all of that. And for safety and OHS, I mean I have colleagues. I don't do health and safety, but I have a lot of colleagues that do it. So I understand the terminologies, I know what they do. So my first question is, do I need to do any certifications
No,
to?
not that Julius Berger in construction.
Okay.
Do not.
Okay. Then I also did some courses which was paid for by this pre-arrival services in ACSA. I did some LSC, about four courses. So just I just want to ask the easiest and the fastest path for me to land a role in this industry, really.
Yeah, okay. So I'll use myself as an example. When I was getting into the field, I did not do a diploma in Canada, nor did I do any certification. Like you, who has worked in Julius Berger, I had worked in Lagos State government. So I had work experience and I was highlighting my work experience. And so what I would say is that there are lots of employers out there that because you've worked for a global firm, you will be a top talent to them. So I
Okay.
would say don't waste your time trying to do any diploma. You already have work experience. I would say you should target small municipalities. City of Calgary might be saturated. There are opportunities there, but I will be bombing places like City of Lethbridge, Edmonton, Edgery.
Maybe even Chester, me.
Like these people they need people. Like I showed somebody the other day, City of Edgery. We're hiring for a safety officer, 90K is what they put on their website for the job, 90K. City of Edgery, not City of. So while you're applying to City of Calgary, apply to all those other ones as well. So, Mr.
Sorry, I just want to say sorry for interjecting.
Please
Like,
go ahead.
um, I you don't put Julius Berger Lagos
Yeah,
in your
yeah.
resume.
JB is JB. Yes, please.
Julius
Okay.
Berger is Julius
Okay.
Berger. Remove Lagos completely.
Okay.
Please, yeah,
Okay.
that's a good catch. Yeah, that's a very good point Branket brings up. Yes, please. Yeah, because sometimes that can be a red flag. Yeah, and that's why we talked about the one-on-one sessions for resume. So whoever has had a one-on-one session with me would say that some of the things I would say are like putting University of Lagos instead of saying University of Lagos, Nigeria, some things like that. So, Mr. JB, I would say that you should come up with a list of 50 companies or more that are potential employers. I don't know what your resume looks like, but you want to have a cover letter to accompany that resume. You want to talk about the things you've done at JB, and you want to also talk about the things you are bringing to the table. I think that with your work experience, you stand a very good chance of landing a role, particularly because you have experience in construction. That can be used in things like heavy industry, can also be used in abstract safety. Yeah,
All right. Thank you. Thank you very much.
yeah, you're welcome. Okay, are we missing any other one?
Any takers? I'm not going to give vote of thanks again because I've given.
Yeah. Anybody comments? Any comments, if not a question? If you have a comment, because you might have some experienced people here as well.
Yeah.
Share something
Or
and
I
give
mean,
one.
if you are too shy, there's always the group.
Yeah,
You can always ask in the group. But thank you so much. I don't want to take any more time.
yeah.
Um, thank you so much, Femi, and thank you so much everyone that came. Really hoping that you
Yes.
guys, you get something. Oh, somebody raised their hand. Please go ahead.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Yeah, so Baba Femi, thank you so much. I remember one time I sent you my resume, and you helped me review the resume and then send some feedback of which I edited. And then, long story short, I was able to get a job in health and safety here in
Wow.
Kitchener, Ontario. But I live in
Wow.
Kitchener, Ontario. But
Wow.
I got the job in Cambridge.
Okay. Yeah,
Sorry.
exactly. You don't because you're in kitchen now doesn't mean you can't leave. Please go ahead. Yeah. That's amazing. Thanks for that
Okay. So
testimony.
yeah. Yeah, so I was able to get a job in health and safety. And just like you said, every other thing you've been speaking about, the experience and then the practicalities of what the job entails. It's practical, so it's
Yeah.
just about knowing the regulations in your province, just know the regulations, and then with that you'll be able to work. Also, basically, what most employers look for is just if you have a knowledge of the regulations, you know the knowledge of have knowledge of joint health and safety
Hmm.
committees and
Hmm.
stuff like that. It's pretty much an easy job to do. Most times the names might sound very big, but when you look at the job, your day-to-day operations,
Yeah.
it's a very simple thing.
Thank you.
So it's more of an appreciation. So thank you so much for what you've been doing for the community.
Thank you. Thank you. And yeah, and that's why we have this community, the Black Catalyst Network. That's what we're here for. Like we said, we're not doing aspire to perspire. If you have your resume, connect with me. Let's look at it. There's someone not on this call right now, but the person We got them a six-figure job last year in occupational health and safety. They did not do any diploma. They had work experience in Nigeria. And we sat down, we looked at the resume. Banks and I, we spoke. And so the goal for us really is not to sound like everything is complex. We want to break it down to look easy. So please reach out to me, reach out to Banks. I'm more than happy to help. I'm very passionate about this industry, this field. It keeps me going. I wake up in the morning every day and I'm motivated by the fact that I'm making an impact on the environment. And so this is very personal to me. So I'm happy to review resumes. Sometimes my wife, she's like, why is this guy? Nobody's paying you for this. Like, it's just what I just love doing. I want people to be in this industry and let us just grow together. Let's make this money. There's money to be made in this field, guys. I'll be very honest with you when it comes to the buck. That's why you see sometimes in Alberta, those guys that drive trucks, they don't wear suit and tie. But nobody wearing suit and tie can outspend them because they are in the practicality. And what the last speaker said, that regulation piece is absolutely correct. You have to understand regulation. Other than that, everything is kind of learnable. Not because we're not dull now. We've done school in Nigeria. Some of us have done school here as well. We have the brain. We have all we just need is that positioning. We get our resume right and we're applying intentionally. And I'm sure that by the grace of God, by the grace of Allah, whatever you believe in, whatever you set your eyes on, you would achieve it. Yeah. We also have one person to not on this call. They got a job 3 months ago. And that was followed. They're also in Ontario. And I think there's one Grace in Kitchener. Because yeah, I think they're in Kitchener as well. Yeah. So Kitchener people caught soap for.
I think that's Rona. I think that's Rona because she connected me to the group.
Well, there are lots of people. We're not mentioning names here, but we have testimonies. So, like we said, we're not coming here to just come and be saying what is not. We have data of people that have gotten their jobs, and we're sure that more people will keep getting. So please don't give up. Let's put this energy. And so everyone that has a follow-up question, please reach out to our community leader and she will guide you. I'm very much reachable. If you want to reach me, trust me, I'm available. We can review your resume. I'll tell you spot on what you need to fix. I'm not perfect, but I have the experience of helping people get their dream jobs. Yeah.
Oh, thank you to the last speaker for like actually coming out. I mean, you didn't have to attend
Yeah.
this session already. I know a lot of people in the community that once they have gotten what they want to get like this, phew,
And it's annoying.
yeah, they just disappear. But so thank you. I mean, really, really thank you for coming and unmuting and saying that about Baba Femi. Thank you so much. And we'll see you guys on the group when you ask questions. Good night, everyone.
Bye, everyone.